an opportunity to ask questions. So about 25 plus years ago, I was sitting in the chairs you are sitting in, and then I decided to go to the US and work in various high-tech companies. And there was something always telling me that I got to do something different. And so I was doing a consulting project with one of the companies, and I was actually at a conference sitting with a gentleman who came to me and said, at that time, he said he was looking for something which connected an operating system called NetWare to the internet, because the internet didn't exist at that time. I mean, not in the current form. And so I came back and talked to a couple of the engineers that I knew who I had worked with in the past and said, here is a problem statement that I have heard and I have researched that makes a lot of sense. And they said, we can't give you a box, but we can solve this problem in a much more elegant way by developing a software product. And so they developed a software product which became a security gateway for this LAN on one side trying to connect to the internet. And so they developed the product, and usually when you do your first company, you are very bored. You don't think that much, and you just go do it. And so I did. And pretty soon as we developed the product, we took the product to the first trade show. This is the first internet war in the early 90s. And interestingly, we spent some time in the show, and we got lots of leads. So we had about very many calls. And interestingly, I was at this conference, and one of the book publishers came to me. He asked me questions after questions for about 2 hours. And then when I looked at his badge and I said, are you a potential customer? And he said, no, but I'm a book publisher. If you are interested to write a book about this, here's my business card. And I told him, look, I have no time. I'm trying to do a startup, and startup means, you have no time left for anything. So I can't really spend any time on it. Then when I came home, I found myself on the phone a lot of times with customers trying to explain to them what internet is as opposed to the product that we were making. And so I was talking to my wife, and I said, when I was a consultant, I could make $1,000 a day doing something which I'm doing on the phone now and not getting paid, and I don't even know if these people will buy my product. So she said, okay, why don't you give a call to the same book publisher and say you will write the book? So at least if nothing else, you will sell a book. So I called them and I said, look, I don't have time to really write the book, but our next version of the product is coming out in 2 months. And I will only agree to write the book if within 2 months you can guarantee me that the book will be published. And he said, well, we take 4 or 5 months. I said, well, then I'm not interested. So he came back and said, we'll make an exception and we will actually do the book. And so the book was published. And interestingly, after that, when I was on the phone with a customer, and he says, oh, you should read this book. There's a guy who really talks very good about your product, and I'm going to buy it. I didn't have the heart to tell him that it was me who wrote the book. But interestingly, so the point I was trying to make for you is that when you get into a situation, you figure out other ways around to solve the problem. And so that book became a very good educational tool for us, where we could even give it to our customers if we wanted to. When I wrote the book, I had no idea that that's what it would become, but it did. And so then we grew the business and we sold the company. We had multiple acquisition offers, and we decided to take one of the acquisition offers. and worked in that company for a little bit. And then I did another software company the same way, which was in the same space in the internet security area. And we sold that company as well. And these two companies, I had done what is called as a bootstrap. Does anybody know what bootstrapping means? So bootstrapping is when you do a company where you don't really, where you don't take anybody else's money. When the only thing you do is put your sweat and equity into the business. So this was the time that I decided that, maybe I should do a company which hopefully now will live beyond me, because I wasn't looking for an exit the same way as the first two companies was more interesting. So that's the time I had a different team of people. We got together and the markets were right, so we raised a lot of money and we built this company. The name originally was IPverse, and then we went public as Viraz Networks. So the company trades on NASDAQ right now, and that was a good long journey of about 10 years because we started at the time when the markets were really hot, and then came 9/11 in the middle, which almost destroyed our business down to zero. We picked up the pieces and started again and lifted it up from where it was and built the business in 4 years again back to about $150 million in revenue, and then the company went public. And then I left the company and after it went public, and worked at a mobile software company after that. And now I've been working as an entrepreneur in residence with a venture firm called Lightspeed Ventures, where we look at various new business plans, and now I'm focusing more on trying to look at what is the next business idea that I'm going to do. So that's, in short, my story. So I think what I'd like is maybe open it up to questions, see what questions you have. How many of you really want to be an entrepreneur? Only one hand right now. Two hands. Everybody else wants to work for somebody else, right?
Entrepreneur just gives you a chance to be more creative. You are just not be forced to obey. Being in a job also gives you a chance to be creative, but not as much. When you're dealing with your own money, then it gives you a lot more high, and then you're able to work better. That's what I think.
Anyone else? Anybody else wants to share?
So just want to do something of my own. Instead of initially working in a company, initially I need to learn how to work under someone and how to take in orders. After that, I want to do something of my own, so that the things that are inside me that I think I can do, I am able to do it easily. Because in any other company where I am working as an employee, it's gonna take some time to convince the higher authorities to get something implemented. So if I am running my own venture, then that time can be reduced and I can directly come on to the implementation part.
Anyone else wants to share? So I think, basically, entrepreneurship is more like